And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
1965, the War of Espionage. Now, this is a theme that I enjoy. I like the idea of spy versus spy, although this isn't nearly as humorous as the Mad Magazine thing. This is essentially players maneuvering spies and trying to get different countries of the world to basically bow to their ideology. You have 6 countries that you're fighting over, and your object is to either get any 3 or get the opponent's capital. It's a very simple game, and in reality, it's kind of abstract to some degree, but I like the fact that you're playing cards in this game 2 different ways. Let me show you a bit more about it, and then we'll see how much I like it. So here's the board for 1955, and you can see that it has basically 6 long tracks showing 6 different countries: France, UK, USA, USSR, Hungary, and Poland. And these are the 6 countries, and players are going to draw their cards from a deck of cards at the beginning, and then one player is going to choose his home country. So let's say he chooses the USSR for his home country. He'll then put his spy on that country's flag on his side. And the other guy picks the UK for his home country, puts his spy over here. And then the other countries are neutral countries, although they do have disposition towards either the communism or towards freedom. Players are then going to be drawing cards from here, and they will have 5 cards in their hand. And now these cards have multiple things on them. They have a flag of one of the countries, and then they're also blue and red, or they're a mercenary card, which works with nobody. They have a number in the top hand corner, which is usually 2 and 3, although there are 4s and a few 1s in the deck. And then there's also a special action that you can take. And then, of course, cool pictures. Really nice artwork in this game. On your turn, the first person has 1 action that they play. Then after that, you take 2 actions on each turn. You can play 2 cards. When you play a card, these are your options. You can play a card for the special ability on that action, and it can do all kinds of things. Like this one makes your opponent play with their hand face up. This makes your opponent's spy can't move. Here you discard your hand and redraw. Here your opponent has to discard all but 2 of their cards. Let's see, what other we got? You can advance 2 control markers, 1 space each. And there's a few cards that can block others, but there's a couple that are gadget cards, and when you get these, you can put these on your side of the board under 1 of 2 spots. Here, this will increase your hand size by 1, and here, you can discard a card from your hand once per turn to move your spy to a different country. But other than that, you're going to be playing 2 cards, and then redrawing up to your maximum hand size, and then you're always allowed to move your spy to 1 country at the end of your turn. Now, that's playing a special ability, but most of the time you're going to play these cards for influence points. When you play a card for influence points, you take the number, and you will move one of these markers that many spaces towards you. You may move the marker of the flag of whatever country you play. So here I play a France one with a 2. I can move the France marker 2 spaces towards me. Mercenaries can be used in any country, and can even be combined with a country to make the amount bigger. I can also always use a card in my home country. I'm always allowed to bring my home country in. However, if I use a card that doesn't match my home country, let's say I decide to use this Hungary card to move it 2 spaces in my home country of the UK, I'm only going to move it 1. I move it 1 less. I can also always move it where my spy is. That's why I move my spy around, because I can use cards to move it towards my side. But again, if my faction doesn't match the faction of that country, not my faction, but the faction of that country, then again, it's -1 influence. The spy also has other benefits. If I get the spy and he's in the country of the card I'm playing, then he will add 1. So if I have my spy in France and I would have played this card, then I would have moved it 3 towards me. Instead of adding that 1, though, I can play 2 cards together as 1 action and combine them, even adding mercenary cards if I want to. And so those are my options, and if I ever get an influence marker to the side over here, then that influence marker is locked and it can't be moved anymore. Although there are a few cards called Revolution which can unlock one. But for the most part, once they get there, they're locked. If you get your opponent's home country to your side, you win. Otherwise, you win when you get any 3 countries to your side. And that's basically how the game works. As the game gets longer and longer, as the game progresses, when things get locked, you'll find it going back and forth. But you can be some pretty big swings, and a country can go from being locked to you to the other side getting it if they play their cards correctly. Gadgets can be destroyed, but basically it's just a back and forth tug-of-war style game. 1955, the War of Espionage.
1955 is a very fun game in the sense that I very much enjoy the idea of the theme. I like the fact that you're really going after your opponent and trying to always counter him by moving around. Knowing which of those gadgets, initially it seems like the get an extra card is much more powerful, but being able to move around and manipulate countries is also very useful. Now, I do wonder if you could get into a situation where there is a seemingly very long tug of war. And I wish there was some ways where you can manipulate your hands better. Ways that let you discard some of your cards and draw more of them. But knowing how to get rid of cards from your hand is one of the strategies to this game. And I would say that it's on a level of strategy, I would say it's a 7 out of 10. There is a decent amount of luck involved, but you have to know. Now, which country should you pick for your capital country? I'm not sure. It seems obvious to pick the USSR or the USA just because they're so long, but if you pick your own, you can kind of maybe get it under control quickly. Then you don't have to worry about your capital anymore. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm not sure. I haven't played it more than 5 times. I like it a lot. I'm wondering how long it will stand up to repeated plays. But for now, it's a very good back and forth 2-player game. You go in expecting severe confrontation. Very interesting and a good design. So here we have 1955, the War of Espionage.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.